Welcome back in Tec Dev Studio with our Unreal Engine Android game development tutorial series, and this is the part 2. And in this video we are going to learn about project setups and do some configuration in the project settings so we can use or we can go in our further future videos. So the first thing I want to tell you, highly recommend that keep your project name short and meaningful, okay, so that you can easily recognize it and you can easily open it, because some of you do try to go maximum number of the letter that you can go with your project. Suppose if you want to create a car game with name advanced car driving, you put everything in the project name, which is really, to be honest, super hard to for Unreal Engine. As for if you go to in a C++ project and it's going to make the project size too big in the name, okay, every file will become so large. So at that point I would highly suggest you to keep the project name as small as possible, kind of like if your project name, in my case it's everyday car driving simulator, at that point I keep it named ECSD, so which is basically very small letter with just 4 character. I can easily recognize it, ECSD, so it's easy to spell for me as well. So that is the thing. Second thing about choosing the templates. In Unreal Engine you can see by default they give some templates, but you can go with which one you are going to create. For example, we are going to create a vehicle, so let's go with the vehicle. So it's automatically gives us some functionalities that we can use in this by presets. Okay, the third is about the setuping in a blueprint or C++. So in my case I'm showing you in a blueprint because we are going to continue this series in a blueprint. Okay, the lastly, here there are 2 more settings are available, which is target platform and the quality. In a target platform will be gives mobile, and then quality preset will be scalable. I already talked about in our first video of Android game development why we should target scalable or why you should use maximum in which way. In my case, if I give you a short describe in this video, which is basically if you say set is a high, it's going to be only support very high-end device, it's going to be very good quality, but you'll be receive very poor performance if you don't have any super optimized stuff or team stuff. So that's why I highly recommend as a sole developer use Scalable. Okay, once we have everything, simply now create the project. That is the first step you need to do. The second thing in the whole of video, the second thing is configuration of the project, which is highly recommended, and I prefer to do from the first day, not just doing everything done and then you are trying to do, which is really cause your project. Because we can, in this way we can basically optimize our engine as well for our over device load. We can make it in a limit. Also we'll be get as similar as possible, because if you use a different type of shader and after that if you drop down your quality, you will be see the too much difference in the foliage stuff, quality, even some cases material can be loaded up very badly. So at that point you should only do as set up everything from the first day, then continue in the work. Okay, once everything load up and boot up in your project stuff, now it's time to basically set up your project. Okay, so for setting the projects you need to go to project settings. So once you go to the project settings, the first thing I really tell you, the first thing is you need to go the packaging, or you can go to start from the targeted hardware. So make sure that it's in the mobile and in the scalable. Then go to the platform and supports. There you need to disable all of the platform just rather than the Android, because we are going to work on that. Even the iOS, even if you are going to create, because on the iOS sector you're going to clone this full project and put on your Mac, then you need to build. So at that point you just disable the Android and enable iOS, so it doesn't going to be include those iOS and Linux and blah blah stuff. Then you need to go to the packaging. At the packaging, which is really very cool, just make sure that pre-installer is disabled and make sure the full is rebuilt. Okay, others there's some map settings are available, which is I typically don't recommend to do. It's not recommended to highly to do, but if you want you can do. You can go to the advanced, and at here there's 2 options you can enable. One is cook only map that are affected on the Google, and lastly if you are using the movie stuff. Okay, kind of like the movie pack, you can make sure that extract the movie when it's staging, so it will be basically keep the movie pack in a separate. And the last thing, there's a everything cook the project content directory list ignore in the below. So it will be what it will do that if we don't put that those map in this our list, it's going to be ignored those maps. So for do that, here you find an option called list of map including the package build. So the Unreal Engine will be make sure that these files will be located in the APK. It should be there, otherwise the project will be failed or package will be failed. So now for pick up that, you can basically pick your map file. It's just only for the map, so you don't need to worry and do all this stuff, like, you know. So you can go to the map, first let's choose the unmap, which is the map file, and second you can put the map light build data. Okay, so kind of like whatever you package or what, you can put a multiple one, there's no limit on there. Okay, so this is in the packaging one. Then you can go to the maps and modes and make sure which you are going to be work, so you can put that. So basically you do that. This is your enter map, you also keep the same. But look, this is also, they said this is the editor setup and this is a game. So as a developer, if you think that you don't need to open the enter map first, you can directly go to the level 1, you can choose in rather here, and in the game packaging it will be always start from the enter map. Okay, this is the option available, you can choose that. Okay, now let's simply scroll and let's go to simple to render one. This is super important, so make sure you follow this procedure as same as possible. So at here you find there's a bunch of options are available, like there's a really bunch of options are available. First you need to make sure the lumen is disabled, because this project not going to be used lumen. Then at here on the shading method, we need to set to shadow maps, because we don't need very high and sharpness in the virtual one. Then you can need to disable the nanite as well, so make sure the nanite is disabled. Then at here, to get a pretty sharpness, you can use TSR, and for MSAA sample content, make sure it's a non-MSS. Okay, and once you do that, then lastly you can go to the Android. So if you scroll down some little bit, this is optional, I guess, enable system on the Android section. So let's simply scroll down, and this is all you need to do at here. Then go to the Android part, and now here some of you do some basic mistakes, so I'm going to show you. The first thing is configuration now. The second thing about your com.packaging, lots of you do something like that, com.blah stuff like that, or kind of like do com.blue like this. You write in capital letter, make sure it's not in a capital letter, it's in a small letter like that, com dot. Now you can add your company name. Suppose in my case my company name is a Tec Dev Studio, Stroyed Developer, or Rockstar, or Ubisoft. So you can basically just keep your company name at there. So let's give it like a Tec Dev. Okay, Tec Dev dot. Then after the Tec Dev dot, you can now put the car driving like this, car driving like that, or car drive driv, something like that you can put. Okay, others you don't need to modify, just you need to modify this thing that every day. Now this is basically application name is basically the game you want going to be show. Okay, for example, I want to put every day car driving simulator. Okay, I'm not sure the spell are correct or not. I guess it's good, or I think it's okay. I guess so. Okay, then it's targeted SDK. Targeted SDK should choose 34 because now it's recommended. Then in the packaging game sector, make sure it's on Android because it's highly recommended when it's a development phase. But in a publishing phase, we'll be change it and the configuration when we need. Then at here we typically don't need support 18.6x bit, but if you want you can get. But I highly recommend at the development phase you don't need to keep it this thing because it's on a build stuff. Then you don't need to do anything at this point. Then scroll down and here you find a option called show launcher. Make sure this is a disable, we don't need to show Unreal Engine logos at here, and here this is a multi-texture format. At here disable first ESTC and DXTC format. Just give ESTC because you are uploading app bundle, so Google will be automatically optimize it for ESTC and the DXTC version as well, so user can play there as well, so you don't need to worry about here, and it's going to be redirect your package size as well. Lastly, at the Android stuff, once you done everything at this one or in this position, then you need to go to the all settings and at here search that mobile. Okay, once you search mobile, you find pretty much related everything with the mobile. So here you give always show touch interface, and at the default one, go to at here and make sure it's a press and delete, so it's don't going to be show that default joystick at here because we're going to create our own custom one and use that. That's why. And forward shading, okay, FSA internalizing, which is cool. Make sure we highest choose the 256 as a texture because it's kind of like a recommended, not too much, but it's recommended. Okay, now lastly you can search that HDR. Make sure the mobile HDR is disabled, or even it's a VHDR, doesn't matter, but HDR should be disabled. Okay, and there's also some texture HDR compression available. You don't need to touch anything. Now lastly you need to go to the window sector. At the window sector, make sure you set SM5, disable SM6, make sure SM5, SM5, and in the default RHS change it to DirectX 11 and choose the compiler to 2020-22. Okay, once you do that, just guys, you are done. You don't need to do too much work anything now. Then go to simply and the maps, then go to the plugins. Now at here, the third step of that, you need to disable all the useless plugin that you don't need. For example, let's start with the Android. At the Android, you don't need the device profiler, you don't need media player, you don't need a media player, Android media player, and also about the Android file server, you don't need that as well. Okay, then we go to the Google, that because there's a lots of bunch of Google plugin are available that we even don't need. So in the Google, simply disable cloud messaging, make sure the gamepad is enabled, and online subsystem even we don't need. Then you can search that online. At the online you find online based stuff, framework and services, you know, it's pretty much with that, but to be honest I don't think so we need anything like the iOS as well, so we'll be disabled in the iOS sector. So now search that iOS, then at the iOS simply disable all of this thing, that iOS subsystem, because we are not going to be use any iOS. Then search Apple. So in the Apple you find the Apple movie player, disable that. AVI media player, disable that because we are not going to be use any of Apple for now. You know, whenever we package for iOS, we'll be keeping in a iOS sector or the cloning project. Okay, and I guess this is all what we need to do for before give the restart, because we literally did everything that we know we should do, because you know there's a lots of still plugin are available that we don't need, kind of like the characters. I don't need any character here, so we can disable that and make the project some more, you know, lighter. But yeah, that's also great that okay, we don't have now too much, you know, unnecessary plugin, we don't have too much unnecessary project config and everything. So now give a restart. Now typically after basis on this kind of like a setting, you will be probably see that if you're doing first time, it can be compile shader around 6,000 to 7,000, but if you already did, so you don't need to do it again, it automatically going to be open like this thing. Now you can able to play, you will be see better performance at here. And I highly recommend whenever you exporting game, make sure that your engine is able to in a high mode, because to be honest in a mobile you don't need the epic one, you highly and maxly need the high version. You typically don't need the epic, okay, which is very cool, and it will give you much better performance and this quality. Okay, now lastly you can do to the material quality, make sure it's a high, and the preview platform, make sure that you choose Android OpenGL mobile. So what does it will be, it's going to be launch a simulator for you in the editor with a runtime, so you are able to check the shader stuff, like the which shader is going to be work in the mobile or which shader is that. But still I highly recommend don't just adjust or customize everything depends on the Unreal Engine edit, because it can't give you the 100% similarity. At that point, what you can do is basically give an export of your APK or your game. Then once you give an export, then you check it on your mobile. You can try in difference on your mobile, your cousin or your sister or your brother or your mother or father or grandma or your friends. Try to check in a different type of device and the versions and the mobile, because all the devices are they made different perspective, the RAM different, processor different, brand different, mobile scale different, display size different, configuration different, use different, the build year different. So when you would basically test your various variant of the device, you will probably get a better result rather than just depends on the one similar. But still, to get as much as possible in the similarities, you can use this OpenGL simulator, which is basically going to be give you a 80% of the similarity look of your full thing or your whole thing. So you pretty much get an idea about if this category is going to be loaded here, or you still need to be optimized, or you can edit it or what. So that's all basically what you need to do for the setup in the configuration file. In our next video, we will be start adding assets in our project settings and how we can modify them to use for our project. Okay, we'll learn that. So also we'll be learn about the optimization stuff as well. So you can see now, this is the pretty much, if I export the game now in my Android, I can pretty much see the same thing. You can see if I disable now the Android, I can see this guy so clearly, even the light is so bright. But look, actually if I export it to my Android and if I test, I will probably see like this. So you can now see the how much difference it's right now. So that is basically it. That's why I said you to test in different devices so you can understand more better stuff. So that's all in this video. Thank you so much for watching. See you in next video.